Relax, the keyboard is off and the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink, the show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. Join your host, Lance Green, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, and co-host SteelFlyers, as we bring you all the latest on the Philadelphia Flyers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next edition of the Hockey Writers Ink. With your host, Lance Green.
All right, guys, back again, talking about the Flyers, of course, and plenty to talk about, even though it's off season and before the draft, although it's nearing closer and closer. There's plenty to talk about. They're still making moves, and, let's get to it, Steel. I'm excited.
I'm telling you what, I am too. Just because it's off season doesn't mean it's off season for the Hockey Writers Ink. And It doesn't necessarily mean that it's off season for you folks out there. So thank you all very much for tuning in, for putting your earbuds in and taking a listen and taking a look-see at what we got going on here at Philadelphia Flyers-centric podcast with the writer extraordinaire, Lance Green, as your host, and your co-host, Ron SteelFlyers. That's me. And I tell you what, Lance, we got a really good one here, I think. You wrote a really smoking article, and we got a couple of things we need to talk about here about what's going on with this team. And, oh, my gosh, we are just 2 weeks away from the draft. And y'all know how excited me and Lance are about this here draft going on. So, what do you say we jive right in here? You know what I mean?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. We're talking about episode number 171. That's right, episode number 171. Oh, my gosh. That just hit me. That's a really large number, right? You know what I mean? 171. Okay. 2 weeks away from the draft, and the Philadelphia Flyers are already making moves with episode number 171. Lance, here we go, buddy. Let's go, man. Let's go. The first thing I think we need to talk about, aside from your article, I want to get into your article here in a little bit because I think that's going to coincide with some of the draft talk that we're going to get into here in a little bit down the road here. But the one thing that I have to say that we have to get off our chest and say that Danny Briere has been doing not only his due diligence, but he's also doing. He's making moves right now, doing things right now for this team, doing things right now. We're not at any kind of deadlines or anything like that. There's nothing special going on. We're not at free agency or nothing like that. And Danny Briere is doing his work. Dude, every time I see something about what's going on with him, I love it even more and more and more. Right. And you know what I mean? And I'm really been impressed with how this whole organization has just been building to get to a point where we're going to soon be perennial contenders. Can I say that?
Let's hope so.
I mean, you know what? Okay, so there you go. Okay, well, how about if we start off with the first thing with, and I'm going to probably say this wrong or maybe not, but okay, we're going to try. Rodrigo Abols. Danny Briere has signed him. So, Lance, fill us in on this young player here that's Danny Briere has signed.
Well, he's a former draft pick of the Vancouver Canucks. He's not exactly too young. He's mid-20s now. But Danny Briere has went back to the SHL to find some talent. He already signed one guy earlier with some size and some grit and some ability to put some pucks in the net. But here he goes again, right? This guy is 6'4", 205 pounds. He's Latvian, but he's playing in the SHL because it's one of the most competitive leagues over there.
I mean, and that's a good league to play in because that's like you said, that's a very competitive league. You're men amongst men there playing. You know what I mean?
For sure. So in 50 games last season, he scored 14 goals, 12 assists for 26 points. Big body guy, great guy. Instead of just the same old people being with the Phantoms, I think he'll start the year there. And he'll get some chances up with a team if somebody gets injured. There's room
Good call.
for that to be a call up. So I
Yeah.
think that's why he got here, to get his foot maybe back in the NHL or at least North American hockey. And because he did play in the WHL, I think, with the Winterhawks. So
yeah, okay.
okay, if my memory serves me right, but Danny signed him to a 1-year, 2-way deal of just $775,000 a year for one season, just to try him out, see if he's got anything. He was impressive last year in the SHL, so why not bring him over here and bring in some new flavor to, some European flavor, which I think the Flyers have been lacking for some time.
Which you have said many times throughout the last 18 months of shows that we've done, where you have said many times that, Flyers need some European flavor.
A lot of North American guys, and North Americans are doing just fine, especially, American players right now, the past couple of years in the draft and stuff. But that European flair has not been there, since Tman and everybody else was there. So it's going to be exciting to see what this guy could bring. 1 year, prove it deal. I'm all right with it.
I'm with you on that as well, too, especially since it's a 2-way deal. So he can start off down in the Phantoms, and then that way he could potentially be a call-up, or, it's depth, okay? And it's on the cheap, $775,000. That's on the cheap, right? So, okay. But it's Danny Briere making moves, adding depth. It's a big body guy that has some production that could be of help to the Phantoms, get his feet wet in North American hockey, just like you said, and potentially be able to produce even more. And then if he does produce, then he'll be one of the first of the call-ups or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I'm okay with that as well too, right? And I like that. I like that about what Danny Briere's doing here, and making these moves and doing these kinds of things, because this is exactly the kind of things that the Flyers need in case there's those injuries, in case Couturier has another sports hernia surgery, or even though he said he's feeling much better, but all right, cool. Lance, I'm going to say this with as much of a straight face as I possibly can. I think you know exactly where I'm going, but it has been officially announced that Morgan Frost is on the trade block.
Well, yes, I think.
See, look how good I was.
Well, I think that at least he is heading up all the rumor mill boards and all that other stuff, and saying that potentially, he is the top guy teams are going to be calling about come the draft and everything else, and trying to acquire, and why not? Morgan Frost is under contract through next season. He's got a cap hit of $2.1 million. We have depth, right? We have depth at center. They chose Ryan Poehling to re-sign him. We have Noah Cates. We got Scott Lawton. We got Couturier for years and years to come. So why not get rid of a guy who's been in Torts' doghouse on again, off again for some time? He's a career -22 player. His goals per game average is 0.17, which is pretty horrible. And points per game average is 0.48. So not, he's not a kid anymore. He's in his mid-20s. I think the Flyers have seen about all they're going to get from him. There was great expectations, and I know a lot of people love him, but the Flyers are cap stricken right now with so much dead cap space and everything. They need to free up some cap space and to get some other pieces that Danny Briere or Tortorella and Keith Jones want to bring in to help this team, not Chuck's guys that are leftovers.
So that's
you know what I mean?
yeah. That's the other thing I was gonna say too is that that's one of the other remaining things too is that he's a Fletcher guy, But now, so okay, so the name that we feel that should have not even been re-signed to come back to the Flyers, but okay, it is what it is. Now he's potentially on the block. I don't know if I don't know if. All right, so what do you think we're gonna get for him? You know what I mean? Like, what could we get for him? I don't really think we're gonna get much.
Well,
And I don't want to be stuck paying some guy who is maybe years older than him with maybe a similar contract. You might as well just keep Frost at that point.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know what
I
I
think
mean?
they could actually get something, Steel. Maybe not a first round pick or something crazy.
Oh yeah,
but
clearly.
He is a serviceable NHL player. He's a third or fourth line center at best. His defensive, he was a +4 this year. He's gotten better defensively under Tortorella, if you call that better. But I think there's a market for him on a contending team. We're going through a rebuild. We were expecting so much from him because we had nothing else, right? At that position to be a goal-scoring center.
Yeah.
And he just has not really proven his worth.
Exactly.
But he could be a good third-line center on a cup contending team, and spark some players on another team. I think he's wore out his welcome here. We gave him more than his fair chance, playing him with top line players, given, other players' injuries and everything through past years here. So, I mean, I don't think it'd be a big loss for sure, but, I would say if you can get rid of him, surely, if nothing else, just for the cap space.
Okay, so that's okay. So would that mean putting him on the waiver wire or trading for or putting him as part of a trade deal? Like you're going to have to package him up with either some picks or something because he's not going to go quietly into this good night.
I haven't heard a lot on the market of him.
That's what I mean.
Although teams have said that, and experts, if you call them that or whatever on the topic, they think he's gonna be one of the top guys that teams are calling about and with these upcoming weeks. And it's really going to depend on what they want to give you. Do they want a pick in return, to give you a better pick of theirs? Is it going to be a trade for a prospect coming back our way or something like that? A highly, level prospect so they can get a guy who's NHL ready and slot in on a third line for them. Who knows? It's going to be dependent on the team that's calling about him. But I'm sure, Danny Briere's going to listen to all offers. And if something, kind of grabs hold of him, he's going to pull the trigger. And we've seen that done already with him. He's not afraid to make deals.
Exactly. And that's why I'm very much excited about listening to what's going to potentially happen. That's why I asked if, what do you think we could potentially get from? I don't think we could get anything better than maybe a third.
Yeah, I don't know what the market is for a player like him. He's obviously not my favorite player on the team.
Fourth, maybe?
I made that well known for years now.
Me too.
I just don't want to talk too ill of him. Hopefully somebody's willing to give us something decent, but I think that would be, I would do that deal to get a third round pick or something like that.
Okay.
Just to get rid of the cap space, if nothing else.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. No, see, we've talked about this before on the show.
Right.
Well, we're not talking about, trying to, wish anybody ill will here or anything like that. And the reason why we're excited is because we feel that we've seen a Frost ceiling, I think. It's not as where we anticipated it to be or where it needs to be. And so now that you've seen enough of that, you need to move on because it's not helping you now. It's hindering you,
Yeah.
because now he's costing you bucks and you don't have bucks and you need to be on the cheap because you're rebuilding. And if you can get something for him, okay, I'm with you on that. So, all right, we've talked about this in the past where you've mentioned where he might be a good fit for like an LA or a Columbus or something like that, where he can show some of those guys what it's like to actually try to play hockey, I guess, a little bit and try to be more of a leadership role or something. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I
I,
just wish nothing
I'd
but the
trade him
best for the
for Arthur
guy.
Kovalev. I know that.
Yeah,
Who's on the block right now.
look, like I said, I wish nothing but the best for the guy, but just not on our team. That's all I said. We have not been shy about how we feel about Frost's services
Or
that's
lack
being
thereof.
rendered or lack thereof being rendered here with the Flyers. So I'm not with you on that. But speaking of things that are the exact opposite of that, Danny Briere doing it again, man, with the re-signing of Adam Jennings. And Lance, you and I both were kind of very much all over this guy when he was first brought into the team, and the fact that he's being re-signed is just speaks volumes of how well this guy has how well he's played and things of that nature. Do you know what I mean? So, what are your thoughts about the re-signing of Jennings?
I like it. I mean, he's a big Swede on the back end, right? 6'4", 205 pounds. They signed him. They signed him for 2 years at an AAV of less than 800,000. So I think he knows what he is. He's a defensive defenseman, which we need. You know, which my article touches on as well. Um, you know, Maybe he hasn't lived up quite to his second round grab of the Flyers in 2018, but he's not a guy that's going to put up points. He never was. He's a defensive defenseman. He's going to be that rough and tumble guy that you saw this year for 9 games with the Flyers. He scored 1 goal, but that's not really his game, right? He's protecting the goalie. He's going to clear the front of the porch. He's going to beat and bang in the boards and get that puck turned over. He does all the little things that
Yeah.
not too many players want to today. And I like him. I've been
No,
high on him for a while. So
I'm so with you on that too, Lance, because he's the Ristolainen that we wanted Ristolainen to be. You know what I mean? He's got the size, he's got the body, he's got the mentality to play the protective defensive game, was which what we wanted Ristolainen to be, and Ristolainen just is not. Do you know what I mean? And
not even
so
healthy. Yeah.
exactly. And to bring in Jennings to be that particular type of player is exactly what you're talking about, Lance. That's exactly what this team needs. You still need to have a guy that's exactly what you said, Lance, willing to clear the porch, do the dirty things, be the defenseman.
Right.
Hey, your name is defenseman. Maybe you
That's your
should
job. That's your job.
maybe you should
Be
try
nice
doing
to
that first.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you think about it with our young developing goaltenders coming up and coming over, and potentially trying to make it as a pro athlete now. That type of defenseman is going to help them along and kind of give them a leg up to be able to catch up to that learning curve and everything like that. So I think it's a smart signing by him. It's a guy I would definitely give another couple of years to develop and
Yeah.
see who cares if he's just a call up guy. He's going to be a great call up guy when somebody gets hurt, and he's not going to make mistakes. He's not a guy you even recognize as being out on the ice, and that's a good thing if you're a defenseman, guys.
See,
At times, you know what I mean?
listen to this man. He is
Right.
very
If
wise.
you don't recognize that defenseman or you don't see him on the broadcast, that's a good thing. That means he's doing his job. He's protecting the net. He's not getting blown out by somebody on a fast break, and you're reading his number as it trails in after the goal was already scored. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want to be seeing that, but yeah, no, I'm exactly with you, man, and that's exactly what this team needs, in a big way, in a big way, and I like it, even if he is a call up, or if I'm, we're gonna see all these guys in training camp, I think. Do you
Mhm.
know what I mean? And that's what I'm going to be really interested to see how this training camp is gonna shape up, because I think it's going to be quite exciting, especially with the draft picks that are going to be coming in this year. You know what I mean? And the draft picks from the last year. So yeah, I'm excited about this coming training camp. You know what I mean? So all right, Lance, you man, you're such a busy man, and since he is the wise and great guardian of the blue paint turned writer, also cranked out an article about a potential for the Flyers eyeing up on the draft day,
Mhm.
right? And so I got to tell you something, man. As with all of your articles, Lance, you always get to the heart of the matter. You get right down to the nitty gritty, and I love it, man. And that's one of the reasons why you're the editor in chief, right? So, all right, here we go. Talk to me about defenseman Carter Yakemchuk.
Yakemchuk, yeah. So the
Yakemchuk.
Flyers were rumored heavily to be kind of enamored by the high-scoring Calgary Hitmen defenseman Carter Yakemchuk, and for good reason. I mean, this kid was a force. He's 6'3", 194 pounds. He has a high ceiling. He scored 30 goals, 41 assists for 71 points in only 66 regular season games played this year.
What's his
Um,
plus minus?
Sounds pretty good, right?
No, what's
But
his plus minus?
um, not good. Let's just say that for right
All right,
now.
well, for a defenseman,
Yeah, yeah, not good. We can double check it real quick, but this past year, yeah, it was negative. But I don't, and that's the reason of writing this article, right? Um, the Flyers are seeing this guy as a potential, um, draft pick for them at 12, and I just kind of hesitant towards it, especially after losing Cutter Gauthier, which was one
yeah,
of our only really standout offensive prospects besides Mitchkov.
yeah,
Um, you know, and the fact that the Flyers already have offensive defensemen up with the team in Travis Sanheim, who signed through 2031. You have Cam York that you spent a first round pick on, who's 23. You have Jamie Drysdale, who you just traded for, who was a first round talent, a 6th overall offensive minded defenseman, right? All those guys want to lead the rush all the time, right? But you got to have a yin and yang. For every guy that's going to rush up defensively and join the rush, you got to have a stay at home guy that's going to protect the net and kind of keep back. And it just shows in the numbers that I show in this article if you guys go and read it. Um, since since the NHL, all those players I just mentioned joined the NHL. They combined for 293 career points, right? Uh, Sanheim, York, Drysdale. But they're a combined career minus 134. That's a problem. That's a
ouch.
problem, guys. Um, you know, that means for every point that they put up in the offensive zone collectively, they were on the ice when their teams, Drysdale wasn't always a Flyer, allowed 427 goals total, right? That's bad. That's bad because the way plus minus works is you get a point if you're on the ice when your team scores, you get a minus if you're on the ice when your team has scored against. So to be a minus 134, that's a heck of a lot of goals especially after putting up a combined 293 points. That's a lot of minuses that you were on the ice for.
So that only makes you, when you sit down and do the math, because then you have to divide that, 3 ways between those 3 players, right? So that really only makes you about 23% effective on the rush.
That's not good. That's not good. And if you add to that, the Flyers have also spent draft pick compensation on Swedish-born offensive defenseman Emil Andre, who's coming
Yeah,
up through the system,
yeah,
as
yeah.
well as a
Finding it's
first-round pick
hard.
last year on Oliver Bonk.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why do we need more offensive defensemen? I don't
We
know.
don't.
And
No. He's no.
nothing's set in stone, but at the combine, they supposedly were pretty hot and heavy over Yakemchuk. And I would advise against it, man, because like I said in past articles, Travis Konechny scored 33 goals this year, right?
Yeah.
He was the 27th highest ranked player in that category in the NHL, making him 36 goals off the pace of Austin Matthews this year, who scored 69. He scored 68 points this year, which ranked him 59th overall in the NHL. And once
Wow.
again, he was 76 points off of Kucherov's point totals of 144. Guys, we don't have an offensive, phenomenal talent, right? We don't have a Connor McDavid.
We
We
don't
don't
even
have
have a
Kucherov.
couple.
We don't have Matthews. We don't have anybody who can really put the puck in the net. So I would rather the team take a look at finding a future partner for Michkov, who could be one of those players, in drafting a Berkeley Catton, who scored 54 goals this year and 116 points in the WHL, or a Cole Iserman, who I selected in my mock draft this year for the Flyers at 12. He is the all-time leader now for the United States National Development Program in goals, surpassing Austin Matthews and everybody else, Patrick Kane, and everybody, all these big names who have cups and great big contracts now. But also you can find that stay-at-home guy later. That's what I'm saying. Like, draft that talent, since offensive talent, right? Draft those offensive talent in the first round, and you can find guys like Charlie Elk from the Wheat Kings in the late first round with that second first-round pick, or in the second round, 6'3" right-hand shot defenseman. Kind of does it all. Amazing skater. Kind of do it all guy, but also a Steen Solberg might be there in the second round. He is a defensive force, a wall, a guy who will put guys on their butt, like a better Racco Gudis, let's say, or basically a guy like Ben Danford, who played with the Oshawa Generals this past year. He was a plus 27 this year, and he reminds me a lot of Ryan McDonough. And if you don't know who Ryan McDonough is, he's a guy with a lot of Stanley Cup rings for a reason, because he is like a career plus a bazillion. He is on the ice. He doesn't get scored on because he does his job so well defensively.
But see, no, I'm with you though, Lance, because seriously, can we stop on the offensive defensemen? Okay, can we just get some defensive guys? And look, but I'm also kind of more on leaning on the side of, hey, you know what? The Flyers actually are pretty set. You can always use defensemen, but they have a pretty good crop of guys right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? They can always, and they can always use a stay-at-home defenseman like they just signed. Do you know what I mean? Today, within the last couple of days. Right. And you're going to get some talent coming with some of the draft picks that you've done last year. Go for what all the other teams aren't going for this year in the draft, and that is offense. Everybody's talking about defense. Okay, yeah, Celebrini. Okay, yeah, I get it. But once you get past the top two offensive players, then what? Then you're all talking defense,
Mm,
right? And the list of defensemen is as long as all the way to the almost, almost to the end of the first round,
right.
and then you're about done, right? And then after that, it's going to be offense, right? There's a couple of goalies sprinkled in there as well too, but for the most part, it's a defensive heavy draft this year, right? So go for the opportunity to, aside from the Celebrinis and that little lot. Once you get past that, unless you want to trade up for that, you need to take a Cole Eiserman, or you need to take even like a Dean Latorno, or somebody like that's going to be able to be that offensive player that you can pair up with Mitch Koff, that you can pair up with some of the other young guys that you got coming up on the team. You know what I mean? And I so agree with you, Lance. They just don't need that. They don't need to be looking at those types of defensemen. They need to be looking at the stay-at-home defenseman or offenseman in the draft.
Yeah.
So, and your article just points that out, man.
Yeah, and I mean, my article goes over it a little bit better than we are just now, obviously.
Oh yeah, go over to
breaks,
SteelFlyers.com
right,
and check out that article.
right, and it breaks it down. So if you're interested in that, I'm not saying I would hate the pick if they took Yakemchuk, but I would think that there's going to be players there equally impressive as him on the offensive side. And if you want offense, why not draft an offenseman? I don't know. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. Not a defenseman who wants to be a winger. I don't get it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If you want to be a winger, then be a winger. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm so with you. All right, well, Lance, I'll tell you what, man. We're just about 2 weeks away here from the draft. Danny Briere has already kind of done some things. I think he's gearing up to make some draft day moves like we talked about in the last show. You know what I mean? I really think that we're getting geared up here to see some things go. You know what I mean? Yep. Especially with the rumors with Frost, and some of the other things that we've seen flying by as far as that's concerned, and we all know that the Flyers need to dump salary. So the best way to do that is to try to get other teams to pick up those players and get draft picks or whatever the case is. So I'm really excited. The draft is just 2 weeks away. You guys know that Lance and I are going to be all over that draft. We have been since this time last year.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're already looking at 2025, right? Okay. Right?
Yeah. I'm looking at 2025. We're already interviewing players on Prospect Watch or other podcasts from 2025. Heck, I'm looking at guys in the 2027 draft already.
I mean,
so
you know what? Seriously.
Yeah.
So for sure. So listen, you got any new up and coming?
I have some ideas. Yep. I'm looking at a potential article about prospects, kind of guys maybe some people are sleeping on, last minute kind of picks if your guy is gone when you go up there. So
another hidden gem, would you say?
Yeah, we could say that.
Yeah, another hidden gem. By the way, go check out that show over there at Prospect Watch, the hidden gems of the 2024 draft. Yeah, you'll see a couple of names in there too that you might like and keep an eye on for sure. By the way, if you don't know, you have to go over to the SteelFlyers website at SteelFlyers.com. Check out all the great things from Prospect Watch to Hockey Writers Ink and also the SteelFlyers podcast. And coming up soon here, we'll be getting into the Nittany Report and a couple other things here we're going to start doing as well. Big thanks and props to Amfram for making our great shorts and doing a great job on those, man. Those are hitting it out of the park here on YouTube. So big thanks to him for taking care of those great shorts. And, man, we love them, so keep them coming. Love all the comments from you guys out there for sure. Check us out at HCKY Writers Inc. on X. And then you can follow me on X at SteelFlyers52. And where can we get you, Lance?
Yeah, Lance.Green39 at X.
That's right, for sure, for sure. And also, don't forget to check out the new Prospect Watch over there on X. It's Prospect Watch 23, and also check it out on Instagram at Prospect Watch 1 on Instagram. So be sure to check us all out over on those other favorite social media platforms. Big thanks and props to all the Facebook groups for allowing us to post our articles, post our shows, and the comments. Man, we love it. We love the audience. Thank you all so very much for allowing us to post our show out on the Facebook groups. So big props and thanks to you guys for that. Thank you, Lance, for another great show, my man.
Yeah, I think it went well, and as the clock keeps ticking down on the draft, I get more and more excited. So we will have to see what comes. Yeah.
I know. I can't wait. Super excited about the draft coming up in 2 weeks. So be sure to check that out as well. Thank you all very much for checking us out. We will catch you all on the next episode of Hockey Writers Ink.